a crown jewel of public space. And what happened? Well, the chamber got a hold of it and put in Athena Healthcare. We subsidized a private corporation to come in and take our crown jewel. This is just heartbreaking because it was supposed to have been a big indoor market like this, or in Boston's Faneuil Hall, but instead it's now permanently off the market because it's got high tech in it. So I'm going to go through $4 billion of Marcotte's bad decisions and examples of poor management. Most of these bad decisions I was involved in. I was down at the council. Even the examples of poor management, there's only probably like one or two of them. The top of the list is the biomass plant. Marcotte had been in position for about 5 months. It was a no-bid contract. It was negotiated in secrecy. They had been negotiating for months, sprung it on the council, sprung it on the citizens in the late summer in August. We rallied. We could figure in within a week this was a bad deal. But no independent analysis, and they rushed it to approval. What happened? Well, you know, it was a $2.3 billion blunder. It costs us $54 million a year for this biomass plant. It doesn't produce any energy. It's just on utility bills. And this was brought to you by Marcotte. In the fact that, having a no bid contract, it doesn't make sense. Formula One, right? So first, city staff supports $13.5 million in free water wastewater lines. Ott pushes for Formula One, which gets $250 million in state funding. And then in just last summer, because F1 was failing, Marcotte had to go to the different council members and try to expand some of the subsidies to the Major Events Trust Fund. And now you see that the track just cut $14 million off of their tax bill. If you had negotiated this properly, even if you liked it, you would have said, we'll give you the money, but you can't go protest your taxes. This was going to be one of the big benefits of having F1 was the taxes, and look what they did. Water treatment plant 4, I think Bill Butch will talk about that, but that was $1.2 billion including interest. We didn't need it. We may never built premature. We could have had road impact fees. Marcotte came from Fort Worth where they instituted road impact fees, but I tried to get them instituted and was was thwarted by staff. That could be a lot of money that would be ready for our roads. Fred talked about the Zucker report. There's one thing interesting about it is how city staff tried to rewrite what it said in here. They tried to redline the bad stuff. Instead of saying the current maximum wait time is 2 hours and 21 minutes, they wanted to put 42 minutes. So they wanted their hands all over it. Luckily we got a hold of that. Waller Creek, another heartbreak. Okay, we spent all our money. This was supposed to be a river walk, right? Big river walk and restaurants, this and that. It's been so badly mismanaged. Now it says it's just going to be a natural creek again. What? I mean,
where did that money go?
Well, it was, this one I didn't have anything to do with, but this was in the January paper. It's just funny. So the city uses paper timesheets. They use maybe as many as 750,000 sheets per year. People in the utility department say they have to walk. They fill out their timesheet and they have to walk across to another building and scan them in. Whereas all the other cities, majors and cities, Texas use, they have electronic timekeeping. This is a 17-year-old paper system for the best managed city in the country. Okay, this is a Pilot Knob. You may realize that recently the mayor said that they were going to divert all these impact fees over to affordable housing. Well, you wouldn't have known that because the posting on the agenda was improper. It's the duty of the city manager to post a proper notice. Even the council members were not aware of the cost, that it was going to cost between 50 to 80 million just on the water utility portion. It's a bad deal anyway. It's the mayor, it's his deal, but had the city manager done his job, which is he has to prepare a fiscal note if there's a modification to the budget or the capital improvement on an ordinance. Well, this was a giant impact statement, impact of 100 million, maybe 80 million, but nothing. So, and he's refusing to do it, and I've sued the city on this. It's a case right now. And even if it was affordable housing, this is the audit that also came out recently where the city department isn't even auditing them correctly. It says they Affordable housing, they overstated it by roughly 3,000 units over the past 3 years. And it said that the Audit and Finance Committee said the city doesn't adequately check on developments receiving incentives and doesn't check on them at all. So on one hand, we're trying to get Pilot Knob, which is a meager 30 affordable housing houses a year, and then 3,000 of them are overstated. It's just one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing. This another sad moment when the TxDOT made available 75 acres up on Bull Creek. They offered to the city, as they have to do by state law, 75 acres for $29 million. Mark Ott sat on the offer, and the council wasn't even aware of it. I believe Laura Morrison just dug around and heard about it. By the time it came to the city's council's attention, the time had elapsed. They got a little bit more time, but basically we flubbed it. So then the state of Texas sold it to a private developer for $46 million. The city could have had it for $18 million less, but they blew it because the city manager. Butler Park, across the street, there was a bond election back in '99 that was supposed to make that 54-acre an incredible place. What happened? Well, they started using the bond money for operations instead, so they redirected the bond money, and a lot of folks have tried to get that money back, but it's next to impossible. You may remember that there was the open meetings violations where the Mayor Leffingwell was calling in 2 at a time to have discussions about the agenda before the council meeting, which is called a walking quorum. I filed a complaint. After 2 years, all of these folks got deferred prosecution agreements. Now, this was all done under Mark Ott's watch. You would think that he would have protected, knowing that he comes from Fort Worth, where they have work sessions every week, that this must have been illegal. City staff must have known it was illegal, but it embarrassed all of these folks. They shouldn't have been doing it. And so what does the Ott Law Department do? They decide to tell all the city council that it's that you can't talk to each other because Brian Rogers did this, and now you can no longer talk. So what he did was he isolated them all, and that wasn't true. I mean, there were 7 of them. 3 could get together at any one time. Nobody ever called Escamillion and say, "What will you prosecute us on? If 3 of us talk, will you prosecute?" He would have said no. Decker Lake, they wanted to take 735 acres of parkland for luxury golf courses. It violates the city charter. Even that they have this no contact provision that says that while there no contact while you're while you have a request for a proposal out, you can't talk to anybody but, in this case, Terry Nicholson about the Decker golf thing. But it turns out they were talking to Kevin Gomillion, who Kevin's with the golf thing. And as Sarah Hensley says in this email, I just want you to know this guy's really pushing Kevin. So they were violating the no contact agreement which means a sudden death for the project. That means your RFP is booted. But because Mark Ott wanted the golf course so bad, he ignored their own rules. This one was just another irritating one. We spent $7 million over 3 years at Staples for office supplies. You'd think we could find a local vendor. Impact fees, I think we could, I may have another chance to talk later, but I want to talk about something in depth. So I think, should I stop now and take some testimony? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Ryan goes deep into city policy, and we really appreciate that. I do want to get on with some testimony, and then we're going to go back to some of the witnesses, the people, the experts who are providing information to you. Next up is Senator Gonzalo Barrientos, our former senator. And I know you have to run to something, so I wanted to get you up quickly, Senator.
I do. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gonzalo Barrientos. I have been a public servant for a few years. Notice, public servant, not politician. Now, let me be brief and to the point. First of all, let us not forget some of us what season we're in right now and what Sunday is, and ask for guidance from divine guidance. First of all, let me say, it was brought up here about the Circuit of the Americas and $25 million a year for 10 years. I want to tell you, I was not there. Had I been there on the Finance Committee, that would not have happened in Austin, Texas. Secondly, Waller Creek and the revamping. I passed the Capitol Views corridor. Whatever building they were doing on Waller Creek went over that height, and somebody is going to pay several millions of dollars to bring it back down. Now, let me say, since they asked me to serve on the Charter Commission and they elected me chair, and we provided for geographic representation so that everyone in the city of Austin could have their choice put into the council. I am here because of my concern of who is the boss. Who is the boss here? The people of Austin are supposed to be the boss.
Yes.
And whatever public servant is being paid by tax dollars should look at the interest, for the interest of their people who they're supposed to serve. I have on 3 separate individual situations was kind of amazed at the maze of bureaucracy in terms of permits, code compliances, and apparently the right hand not knowing what the left hand was doing in the areas of housing. And some administrators, I'm not saying all of them because I am for public employees, and they're being paid right and treated right. But I have seen for a while now that to some extent, I would call it kind of a culture in the government of the city of Austin. That is, the paid people in the city of Austin. Who is serving who? I've seen this culture before. When I first went into the legislature, the prisons of the state of Texas were being run